Imagine sitting in a classroom while your instructor is giving a lecture, but your mind is any and everywhere but on the lecture, jumping around from thought to thought, only focusing on one thing for a very short amount of time. That's what life with ADHD is like. Today I'll explain ADHD to you. I was 5 years old when I was diagnosed with ADHD, and I still struggle with it as an adult.
Take your time, Pastor, when they say tea.
Pastor be getting caught up. Pastor be confused.
It'll be like yours if I was sleeping over here.
Don't get in that comfort chair now. I thought I was in that comment. Imagine sitting in a classroom while your instructor is giving a lecture, but your mind is everywhere and anywhere else, jumping around from thought to thought, only focusing on one thing for a short amount of time. That's what life with ADHD is like every single day. Today I'll explain ADHD to you. I was diagnosed with ADHD when I was 5 years old, and I still struggle with it as an adult. Today I'll discuss what ADHD is, the signs and symptoms, treatments, and the effects it can have on children and adults. First, let's start with what is ADHD. ADHD stands for Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder, and it is one of the most common mental health disorders affecting children and many adults. According to an article published by the American Psychiatric Association, it's estimated that 8.4% of children and 2.5% of adults are diagnosed with ADHD. ADHD typically is only diagnosed in school-age children, but you can also be diagnosed as an adult. ADHD is typically characterized by the impulsivity, fidgeting, not being able to pay attention, and not being able to concentrate. Now let's dive into some signs and symptoms. ADHD can present many different symptoms, and everyone with ADHD shows different symptoms. Usually school-age children who have ADHD start to show symptoms while they're at school. Children who seem to be having trouble paying attention, not listening, constantly getting in trouble, fidgeting, not being able to stay seated, not being patient while waiting in line, are most likely to be diagnosed with ADHD. ADHD in adults can look a lot different. This is partly because adults are in different social settings and completely different stages of their lives, other than a child. Life is always a balancing act for adults. What happened to me? Life is always a balancing act for adults, for any adult, but if you seem to always be distracted or forgetting things, constantly unorganized, then you might be an adult living with ADHD. Life with ADHD has always been a struggle for me, but adulthood has been very challenging. Clearly. While reading an article from the ADHD Institute, I read about a study done by the European Lifetime Impairment Survey, which found that ADHD has a strong effect on adults with ADHD and their ability to function and manage life. Many adults with ADHD tend to be more reckless and dangerous, get arrested more often, and are more likely to become addicted to drugs. Excuse me. Now that we know what ADHD is like, let's talk about the treatments. Treating ADHD can be a very tricky process. There are many different drugs that can treat ADHD, and one type is a stimulant. Stimulants such as Adderall can cause tremors, weight loss, mood swings, and depression. There are about 20 different stimulants that can treat ADHD, but sometimes it takes multiple different drugs and dosages to find the right one that works for you. Also used to treat ADHD are non-stimulants. There are 4 different non-stimulant drugs available that treat ADHD and are not extremely as aggressive drugs as stimulants. Many parents choose the non-stimulant route because of the side effects that the stimulants have on their children. Besides medications, there are other treatments available, such as therapy. Therapy is widely used in the treatment of ADHD. A study done by the CDC was one of the first national studies to look at the behavioral therapy and its effects on ADHD. Even though therapy does help with ADHD, it is typically only used as a support option to treat ADHD and not the main treatment. Now that we are all treated for ADHD, let's talk effects. ADHD can have long-term effects on children living with ADHD and adults as well. Children living with ADHD, especially undiagnosed children, usually will stay in trouble at home or school, and we all know staying in trouble is no fun. Having ADHD, many ADHD medications can also have side effects on children, such as the tremors, weight loss, and even mood swings. Having ADHD as an adult is even worse than when you are a child. Many adults with ADHD struggle to maintain relationships, whether with family, friends, or even romantic ones. Many adults struggle staying out of trouble, focusing at school or work, and many adults having ADHD can also lead to embarrassment, trouble staying motivated, low self-esteem, and other mental health disorders such as anxiety and depression. You now should know just about all there is about ADHD. You could probably diagnose yourself. To conclude this speech, I will say that some of the facts I gave you about ADHD might have you thinking you have ADHD yourself. I've told you what ADHD is, the signs and symptoms, the treatments, the effects of ADHD. I hope you have enjoyed learning about ADHD and that I wasn't too scatterbrained, which clearly I was. But we done, and that's all I got. Bitch, why that call bell go off?